Yeah.
We had a pretty different plan
We did.
for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
But upon arrival,
Upon arrival.
you and I had a chat and we were like,
did.
okay, we're doing this and we're doing this.
We did.
And I can't even remember what triggered us because my head is so scrambled, but that was what we brought up, how scrambled my head is.
I think it was more you came to me in a moment of vulnerability. And you went, I'm feeling incredibly burnt out.
Yeah.
That to me, like, was just down the tools. And I asked you, what is making you feel that way?
Yeah. You were like, right.
Yeah. I was like, what is it?
Yeah.
That's making you feel really burnt out? And because burnout can come from several different things, right? So, and then you explained exactly what it was. And we were like, should we drop the episode that we have planned and talk about the feeling of just being overwhelmed, the feeling of putting a podcast out there, for example, for a couple of months and just being like, oh my God, like, when is it going to turn around? Like, whatever it is, like, at some point, everyone's going to hit that wall.
Yeah.
And you came and you said, I feel like I haven't hit the wall, but I'm hitting the wall at some point. And I went, okay, well, that's it then. That's all I need to hear. I'm not going to give you any advice, but I got you.
But we're talking about it.
But let's talk about it. And you said, I'm happy to have this conversation.
Yeah. Because I feel like I'm a big advocate for emotions and talking about it and asking a lot of other people to what they're going through and stuff. But I don't really do it with myself. Like I would, like I'll make a joke out of it. Like that's my go-to classic, you know. The comedian who laughs it away, being like, "Oh yeah, if you're angry with me, I'm gonna bury myself in the ground," you know. So it feels like a great opportunity for me to like, okay, well maybe show up emotionally for once, rather than like one hiding it or two making a joke out of it. Yeah.
And I don't think you can ever hide the feeling of being burnt out, because I felt something was wrong. Like as soon as I saw you, I was like, but I don't want to pry or prod. I always think that someone will open up to you, and we have that relationship where I was like, if something's bothering you, I know you're going to tell me. And it didn't take.
And you
always
minutes. Lead with empathy, which we talked about before, and how that's so important for like just letting people be authentic and like sharing. And it's because we talk about LinkedIn, right, and how it's icky, and if it's something that feels icky, it's like lying on there, but also it feels icky if you're complaining on there. So how do we balance this? And the same in networking, when we go out and about and talking about our businesses, because I'm a strong believer of, if you have a meeting with someone who might hire you or anything like that, show up, be your best self. Like even if you're having a bad day, like you can kind of put that on. But then that has for me translated into like, I always have to do that and can never be like vulnerable.
You feel like you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like every day, but it's just like, I do want to show up for everyone who I might work with and stuff like that, because I don't want anyone to be put off and be like, oh, but will she handle working with me if she's being vulnerable right now? And that's really hard, especially when it feels like you're working day to day for your business and like, your career.
Brilliant. And that's why we decided to do this episode and just talk about like the realities of what you see. Because I often think of it as well in the sense of people who just do content creation, which is what we do, right? All those influencers that people watch, there is a lot behind that. And for those couple of seconds that we consume, for those happy moments or whatever it is we see, there is a lot more going on behind the scenes that people don't see. The same as a lot of work that goes into this. Like we're going to just go out there and share it. We've filmed, we've got a couple of episodes in the bank at this point. So we're going to pause on that. But what people don't see is all the work behind the scenes that goes into this. the research that Hanna does, the copywriting that she does, getting guests together, you know, making sure we've got a studio booking, the 3 a.m. edits that no one knows
that you do,
that we're sitting there doing. And this is just a place for us to be open and vulnerable, of course, but vulnerable as well, because vulnerability is ultimately what makes people more real, more relatable, and more authentic.
You know what I saw in front of me now when you just said like what I'm doing and what you're doing? I envisioned us like living in a cabin together. And like me, like working away on the laptop whilst you are like creating things and taking pictures. And then through the night, you see me laying in bed sleeping and then you're up typing. So I saw like our little podcast as a little cottage where we do all our like behind the scenes work, because that's how it feels.
I'd like to think of it like that. And one of the things that you are so right in saying is that within that cottage, I'm the one up typing, but then during the day I'm doing some sort of creation, but I'm not doing as much as you are during the day. And there are ebbs and flows. And this is in relationships as well, right? Someone might not be able to give 100, they're able to give 50, 30, whatever, and then the other person's able to pick up. So currently I also feel very overwhelmed but not burnt out. So like the overwhelming, I've tried to figure out how I can sort that, but I don't feel the same way.
Have you ever been burnt out?
Yes, I have been burnt out. And I'm avoidant, so I'm not like you at all. I think I slow down when, I want to be really honest here, when my immune system just crashes.
That's my first one.
That's when I'm like, okay, now I'm burnt out. But up until that point, I just kind of try and I'm not. I know it's really bad. I know it's terrible, but I want to be so honest with people about that, right? And I do a lot. People are always like, how are you running? How do you do? And so do you, like with everything that you do. And we're not superwomen. I'm sorry.
No,
we are. We try and show up, but there are times where we, like I said, have to down the tools, don't we?
100%. And I was telling my partner yesterday, like how I feel really sad because I feel like I'm not a good friend at the moment, because all my energy goes into like getting back to clients and like do work and stuff like that. So when time comes for rest, I'm literally just watching Friends or football and like that's it. Like I can't take in new things unless it's like those safety. So, and I felt really, really sad because I was like, I wish I could show up in more aspects of life, because I am so scrambled right now. Like really, everything is like a mush.
And most people who are a good friend will be like, I understand that you can't show up for me in this way. I'm the opposite to you, Hanna. And in the sense that when I am burnt out, I want to not show up for people. And let me explain, because it sounds whoa. But I believe we're right now, there is a lot of loneliness out there, and people don't show up for their friends in the right way. You know, there are people who cancel last minute, and sometimes people also weaponize their mental health, but don't show up for their friends and think that that's okay. So I put immense pressure on my shoulders to make sure that if I've promised someone that I'm going to go somewhere, even if I'm extremely burnt out, I go. I actually respond to text messages fairly quickly, and I have friends who don't respond in like 3 days. And I think it's okay for them, and I'm like, it's okay, you don't have to respond to me straight away. But I put pressure on myself to show up as a friend, so that when I go through burnout, the thing that I wish I could do the most is literally just drop off the face of the earth. Because but then I know the consequence of when people do that, and how it makes me feel, and I don't want to make them feel like that. But then I'm like, oh, how do you navigate this? Because like you said, we're the opposite, right? So you wouldn't probably take it badly if I disappeared and I just didn't respond for a bit. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, I have to respond straight away. I have to make sure they've seen this message. I have to.
But I used to be like that. And that, like, up until my first burnout. And that has like overwhelmed me to the point where I can't do it. Like text messages and like being on my phone, like I can't do it unless it's for work, because it's too much. And I'm way better with phone calls. I won't call if I'm sad or need to talk to anyone, because again, like this is like self-loathing, right? Like I hate that I feel shit, so I just won't do it. So but if someone calls me, I reply straight away. It's like the text message that I feel like it's such a constant in my work life and everything. It doesn't feel important. But if anyone calls me or like do like an SOS text, of course. But like calling is like the way, and I will always pick up.
Yeah.
Because that's when I know like, okay, you need me now, or you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely like interesting to see how you go. Because again, I used to be like that.
Yeah.
At university, I was like everywhere for everyone, and until I literally was hospitalized because I got ill.
Yeah, that's
from like
not possible.
Non-stop. Yeah,
it's not possible to be everywhere for everyone.
Yeah,
but it's also not possible to be the best of friends to everyone all the time either.
No.
So yeah, but I'm going to be honest, I still don't think I've cracked the code.
No.
Of burnout. Like I don't think I have. But one of the things that I've done to crack the code this year was take so just out of being vulnerable and telling people I only work on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And the other 2 days I found that I'm actually working a lot more, and I was meant to be pulling back and just working less, but I don't feel as burnt out because I enjoy it. Exactly. And I was speaking to you earlier about when you're doing things that are monotonous and you don't enjoy, you're more likely to experience it and be like, I'm burnt out because I hate this.
Yeah. Or because I have to do it because otherwise I don't have food on my table.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
And again, like coming back to like as a business owner and freelancer, you know, it's so much is riding on me, like showing up every day, because otherwise like I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So and that comes with, that's why also I haven't said anything before. Like, you know, the weeks leading up to this, I've been like, okay, I just need to get through this period and we'll be fine. Yeah. And then today was the first time I was like, okay, like it's seeping through the cracks now, and you could see it, like you said.
That's the worst thing, when you're just like, I just need to get through this day. I just need to get through this week. I just need to get through this month. And then there is no more getting through anything.
Then you end up at some point. I just need to go through this life, and that's not a way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just slowly start getting into the minutiae of everything, and eventually you're like, I just need to get through this hour, and it's just, you just have to stop. You just have to stop. And there's like nothing you can do at that point. But reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
And be like, what is it? And sometimes you're not even ready to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to take a break.
Yeah. And which is why it's been like, as someone who advocates for going out and like network and being on LinkedIn as well, it's really hard because I'm like, show up, and then I don't myself. And it's like, I start questioning myself. Have I ever like questioned anyone who didn't show up or didn't like, you know, go to networking? Probably not, because everyone thinks just about themselves. But because we're told to show up, I even say that. It's hard to then, oh, this is the time to not show up. Like show up for yourself instead, rather than your work and clients and career and stuff. So yeah. And in the end, you just end up not showing up anyway because you can't.
Yeah.
Rather than choosing to.
Yeah. The recovery from burnout it's a really tough, it's a very long, if you really have to try not to burn out, because the recovery is just, sometimes people just don't even recover from it, do they?
Exactly. I think this is actually more like backlash and waves coming from like my really bad spell 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And it's since then it's like coming in waves, like this like tiredness and like feeling really overwhelmed and like shit about myself. And so I find it hard to like differentiate if it's like a new burnout or if it's still like the tail end of the big one. And I don't really talk about this.
No, I think more people need to talk about burnout, especially the people who show up a lot, because they are the ones that I find I can relate to more. Because how, like, if you're doing it, how do you do this? Well, surely, like, how do you mitigate being, but I really want to know from those more of those people.
Yeah. And it's really hard because you want to do so well all the time.
You want to do so well.
Yeah.
And like, people are like, oh, just keep going until you break through. And then you can, down the tools or whatever. And it's like, that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, like always chasing. I think there was a really good quote I saw the other day that said, if you are running from something, you've got to know what you're running towards.
Oh, wow.
So if you know that you don't like something, like, what are you
going to do instead?
What are you going to do instead? Because you can't just keep running and running and being like, I don't like this, I don't want to do this, this is on and then not know where you're going next. Yeah. But you're not planning on being like, oh, I need more. It's just like, actually, I think this thing would make me happy. So while I'm unhappy with this thing, how do I get to this point?
That is such a good, and it's really making me think, because I find it hard to dream and visualize and have like goals, because I've never been able to, and because it feels too scary if they don't come true. Like, then what was the fucking point, right? And then two, I just never done it. Like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I can't visualize how things would turn out good.
What if I told you that, because I'm on the opposite end of that, every single dream, every single thing that I've ever put down and gone, I want to do this, that once you do them and you set them as, mine have come true.
They might have.
They have.
Yeah.
Like it's scary.
Yeah.
But
wow,
they've come true. Like, and I don't know how, but like, if I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
it's so scary.
Do you use manifestation?
Oh, I'm a big manifestation person. I even changed the way I speak about certain things. Like, I will never say I'm broke, I don't have money. I'll just be like, my money is being redirected. Like, I very
and
much...
you actually do this. It's not just some. Okay, wow.
I don't.
Yeah.
Have you heard me ever say that?
No. But like, because I've been trying to do like that in like my journaling and stuff, but I end up not believing it, or like stopping it, and then I'm stressed one morning and I don't have time.
Yeah. No, I'm not sitting here like on a high horse in any way. I'm just telling you, I wish I could show you my journals. I wish I could tell you of all the times I've been like, I'm going to do this. And actually, you've seen one. We were at university and I said, I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to become a content creator and I'm going to get paid for it.
And you did. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how. It was a lot of doubt. There was a lot there.
Yeah.
But I just said it.
Yeah.
And not everything goes the way that I want it to. And I always look at that and I'm like, maybe I'm being redirected if something doesn't turn out the way that I want it to.
Yeah.
But if I've done everything right, like I even said to you when we were talking about the podcast, I was like, actually, all we need to do to get to top 1% of people is really not to give up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said to you, if we get to that point and then we're like, okay, it doesn't go as far as we want. We're not giving up. We've learned so much. What can we then do with those skills?
Yeah.
And like, to think in that way, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a glass half full person. Trust me, I'm a glass half empty person.
Yeah,
very much. But I've had
you are British after all.
Yeah. But I've had to learn the hard way.
Yeah,
the hard way.
Yeah. I really want to take up on that note, because I listened to a podcast episode yesterday in Swedish, and it was all of that, like redirecting and like when you're and like learning about yourself and your and it really touched me in the way they talked about it and like how you talk about yourself. And like they brought out some writing exercises as well, so I wrote those down yesterday, which might be why I'm so tender today, because that really touched me. And yeah, because I am again a big advocate for authenticity, but then I feel shit about myself all the time.
Yes, that happens a lot of the time.
People
can hand out advice, they can be there for people, and then they don't show up in that way for themselves.
Yes. And I never want to talk about it. Like when my closest people are like, oh, but don't you wanna? And I'm like, not if I can't make a joke out of it. Like I really struggle to get
humor is a coping mechanism, very much so.
It definitely is.
And I'm just really happy that you've opened up about this today. I'm happy that our listeners, all 5 of them, I'm just kidding. See, there we go. Humor's a coping mechanism, right? Because I'm very much like, I'm happy that we could just really be authentic and just be like, look, we had an episode. We had planned it all out, but instead we came and we showed up with our emotions. We showed up to show you that this isn't an easy thing that we're doing. It takes work and it causes us to sometimes feel like we are just treading water, which is something that you said you were feeling today. You were like, I am just treading water.
Yeah, literally like with my nose.
Literally with my nose above. And that's why we're just going to, after this, take a nice pause.
And get a bucket and empty some water out of that pool.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be easier to breathe. Well, thank you for letting me be vulnerable today and saying, fuck that, and let's just talk about this.
Of course, anytime. I'm always here to talk about feelings. Your feelings are valid, always. Like everyone's feelings are always valid, no matter what feelings they are. And everyone needs to know that. And people need to be not kind to other people, because I think sometimes we focus too much on that, and be more kind to ourselves.
That as well.
Be more kind to yourself, Hanna. And I will also maybe cover some of those manifestation tools at some point. For anyone who's out there and wants to make things happen for themselves, but they just feel like they just need to get them down and look at them and really stare them in the eyes.
I would actually love that, and I'll just bring my journal and do it with you, and you can coach
and
me through
I'll bring some of my old journals, or I'll bring some things that, I've from years ago and just been like, this, I did this and this happened, So so that you can see it does work, and speaking positive. And while I found like when you're like, oh, be positive, it sounds so toxic in itself. But
and it is to some extent.
There is toxic positivity.
Again, like, that's not the first thing you said. No, cheer up. Like, you'll be okay. Like, nah.
That's not the first thing I said.
It's literally the last thing you said. You said that just now. And we've been, together here for an hour and a bit now. It's
before
not...
anyone gets ahead and
exactly.
Goes, she's being positive. She's
this was literally the last thing.
No, that was the last thing I've said. That's the ending note. Now that we're like, okay, we've spoken about our feelings, we've spoken about burnout.
That can be what I want to get to. I don't want to feel like this, but I want to feel like I can write nice things about myself in a journal.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And that would be really nice if you were able to do that. But
well, we'll end on that note. Thank you so much. If this was messy, it's because, again, my head is a bit scrambled and I've just like blah.
Yeah, this was an impromptu episode. We hope you've enjoyed the vulnerability.
Yeah. And please come and be vulnerable with us.
Please do.
In whatever shape or form.
Yeah. Send us if you have any great tips on it, if you feel burnt out.
Your favorite manifestation.
Yeah. Or your burnout icks.
Yeah.
What people have, like, there must be people icking you out on their tips of exercise more, drink more, shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Just cheer up.
I just need to not be burnt out.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.